In this video, we are putting the new Volvo EX90 through one of the hardest tests we do here on the channel. Not only are we measuring how many minutes an EV needs to charge to complete the 610 kilometer or almost 400 mile route, and then ranking the car based on that charge time, this test is also designed to uncover weaknesses and issues with an EV. For example, in the last car we tested, which was the Zeekr 001, we didn't only experience an unreliable route planner that couldn't be trusted if your life depended on it, but we also encountered major issues with ADAS and sensors and other functions. And Volvo, being a sister brand of Zeekr, will we encounter the same issues, or will the EX90 offer a better or even good experience? Let's find out. You join me after about an hour on the road in Volvo's new flagship. This is the third time I'm taking the new EX90 on a long trip, or maybe the fourth time. The first time was in northern Sweden when I drove the car over 2 days, but it was only a few hours each way. Me and Volvo Christian when we went to the launch of the Volvo EX30 cross country. And then I drove it from Madrid to Lisbon, and then from Lisbon back, and then now we're driving it from Oslo to Kristiansand and back again. And I have to say, this is one of my absolute favorite cars at the moment. You guys know I love large SUVs. I started this channel with a Volvo EX90 back in 2016, my private vehicle that I took delivery of, well, at that time, and then I've had another XC90, and then we're now in the EX90, the electric 3-row 7-seat luxury SUV from the brand. And this is by far the most luxurious, the most quiet Volvo ever. And that means this is a pleasure to drive on a long trip. The seats are great, the comfort is great. This with the optional Bowers & Wilkins sound system is probably the best sound system I've ever heard in any car, besting the Bowers & Wilkins sound system we had in the XC90 that came before it. It's just an awesome car, and you know, it drives great. It has great handling, this car, but also great comfort, even though this is on the large optional 22-inch wheels. And also, ADAS, you know, works perfectly fine. You know, you can increase and decrease the speed with a press of the button with no issues. It's not hard hitting the buttons in the correct place like with the Zeekr 001 I tested a few weeks ago. And also, the car tracks beautifully. You can steer within the lane, and it just works perfectly. I haven't, you know, driven a car recently the past year that has worked this well, maybe except like the Audi Q6 e-tron and the Audis, and maybe the Porsches, also the Macans. They just work. But a lot of other cars I've driven, like Chinese cars, have just been terrible when it comes to ADAS functionality and just driving dynamics in general. This is a pleasure to pilot on this trip. And also, our route planner. When I left Sleppenen earlier today, the car predicted we would arrive in Kristiansand at the turnaround point with 29%. It's now up to 31%. And I would rather have a route planner that you know, underestimates the range I'm going to ride with, so we arrive with more range. And also in my Zeekr 001 video, my long trip test, maybe I'm going to make a follow-up to that, because there were a lot of weird comments, like people saying that, no, you have to change the setting of your route planner because by default, it calculates with WLTP range, which doesn't make any sense at all, meaning that you're always going to arrive with a lot less battery than the car predicts. Why would you ever want a setting that gives you inaccurate arrival data? That doesn't make any sense at all. I just can't wrap my head around why that would even be a function, if it is a function, or why people would, you know, defend that. That makes no sense at all. But okay guys, I digress. After an hour and 15 minutes on the road, covered 128 kilometers, our average consumption is at 24 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So from Oslo and down here, we have had, you know, a mixture of headwinds and crosswinds and tailwinds, because we are driving south and then southwest towards along the coast, and the winds are a little bit different. So I'm guessing, you know, that our consumption is going to drop now that we get closer to Kristiansand, because we're going to have more patches like two-lane country roads, 2-lane highways like this, and then 4-lane highways. So our average speed is going to drop a little bit. It's probably been around 100 kilometers an hour now in average speed. It's probably going to drop to around 90 on our way down. So I'm expecting we're going to get even lower consumption. And then once we hit Kristiansand at a turnaround point, we're going to have it to make a decision where to stop and charge, because we're only going to do one charge. And I'm hoping that this car will be able to post a sub 15-minute charge time. I think that will be a very good time for this car, being as large as it is. As we move closer and closer to our turnaround point in Kristiansand, the EX90 only got better and better, offering amazing comfort, refinement, and luxury. And even the route planner was showing to be reliable. Wow, imagine that. Welcome back to Kristiansand, guys, to where we turn around in this long trip test. So I haven't been here a few weeks, 2-3 weeks since I tested the Zeekr 001. That was before I went to the Shanghai Auto Show and to Shanghai and to Wuhu in Shaoxing in China. Yeah, experiencing a lot of cool stuff. So we're now here, and the car predicted when we left that we would arrive here with 29% stated charge, and we're actually here with 38% stated charge, which is a lot more. And you know, it's not optimal that, you know, it's not accurate, but it's a lot better that we arrive with a lot more battery than less battery, that we can actually reach our destination and we don't have to stop and charge anywhere else. So our average consumption so far is at 22 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is pretty good actually for being this type of vehicle. Of course, if you compare it to, I don't know, a Tesla Model 3, I don't know why you would do that, but if you would, you'd be like, oh, this is so inefficient. Well, it's about 3 times the size of a Tesla Model 3. This is a large 3-row luxurious SUV with 7 seats. So we want to go to this Tesla supercharger in Brooklandsheia instead of the Ionity chargers, because at a Tesla supercharger, this car can get 250 kilowatts of peak charging speed instead of 200. Just quickly, guys, for you who don't know why this is the case, but to get 250 kilowatts out of this car, because it's on a 400 volt architecture, you have to go to a charger that can output 600 to 625 amps. When you do the math, that gives you 250 kilowatts. But Tesla superchargers are the only chargers that output that much, because CCS chargers are capped at 500 amps because of the standard, because of the certification, and then they're capped down to 400 amps. So you're gonna get maximum of 200 kilowatts on a 400 volt architecture for a short period of time, and then you're gonna be limited or throttled down to 160 kilowatts. So for this car, to get 250 kilowatts, we have to go to a Tesla supercharger. So we're now approaching our exit here in Brooklandsheia. We have stopped many times here before to charge at the Ionity chargers, but this time, instead of going to the right in a roundabout, we're going to go over the bridge and to the Tesla superchargers. So there should be like 24 out of 36 chargers available, which is a lot, and with a maximum output of 250 kilowatts. Hopefully all of these output that, so we don't have to try one and then we have to change. I'm not really sure if they're labeled or not, but I have been here with a Polestar 3 once before, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, a lot of them seem to be available at least. Okay, I think we're gonna go over here to the far side. It looks like there are a few chargers available. We're gonna choose this one all the way to the end of this charging station, and we have the charge port here on the driver's side on the rear 3/4. So we're gonna pull up to this charger here, and then we're gonna stop there, and then I'm gonna show you guys that we're actually here with 10% stated charge, which is what the car predicted. So that is very good. And then our average consumption is now at, let's take a look, 23 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And we've also covered 413 kilometers before stopping to charge with still 10% left battery, with 39 kilometers range left according to the car. Okay, so we have the app open here. The charger is called 12D. It was the one at the end, and let's start charging. Plug in to charge. I'm just gonna put my phone here. And then we're gonna grab this connector here. And then we're gonna connect here. And what we're going to do, we're also going to start a timer here once it starts charging, because there's no other way to time the session, because there is no screen on the actual charger here. So we're going to have to hop into the car, and it's started already. There we go. So I'm just going to turn around the camera here. And we're now at, I'm going to close that door because that fan was really loud. So 140 kilowatts and climbing. Let's see if we can hit that peak of 250. We're easily hitting above 200 kilowatts. 230. Come on, 240. $248, $249, and 250 kilowatts. Yeah, 11% stated charge, 251. Yeah, that is not bad at all. 252, guys. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to put our destination, which is SO in Schleppenden, into the charger here. The route planner says we have to charge for 17 minutes, and then we will arrive at our destination with 11% battery. And I think that is pretty much what we're going to do. Charge for 17 minutes, have a buffer of 11 kilowatts, and then at the end of the video, once we get to our destination, we're going to correct the charging session as we would arrive with 0% state of charge, which we do for every car now, so that all cars arrive with the same, to get, you know, a time that is comparable across the board. And because this car has been so reliable when it comes to the predicted state to charge at arrival, I think it's going to be fine going to 11%. That is a big enough buffer for us to get back safely. Once the car said we'd arrive back at our start point with 9% stated charge, I disconnected and got on my way. With the route planner overestimating battery usage, I was pretty confident we'd get back without any drama at all. Welcome back to SO in Schleppenden, where we started this long trip test earlier today. So we arrived here with a massive 16% state charge. We left the charger in Brokelandsheia when the car said we would arrive here with 9, so that's actually arriving here with 7% more. And our average consumption, 23 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Again, this car doesn't have a decimal point behind that whole number, so it could be like 22.5 or it could be 23.4. We don't really know, so that's why we're going for the 23.0, which the car says, which isn't too bad. When I tested the Zeekr 001 a few weeks ago, granted it was colder that day, but that car also on 22-inch wheels, a much smaller car, had an average consumption of 21.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And I think, considering that this car is so much bigger and a lot less aerodynamic, being a large SUV, I don't think that is actually bad at all. So for us to charge from 10 to 55%, which we charged to, took us, let's see, 16 minutes, 15 minutes, 17 minutes. So when we subtract that 16%, that means we only charged to 39% to be able to get here with 0% state of charge. We correct for that, so all cars can be compared across the board. That means a total charging time today of only 10 minutes, which is actually an amazing time. I think that is actually pretty good, and everything below 15 minutes on this trip, which is more than 610 kilometers, almost 400 miles. We're gonna stop at least once to go to the toilet or to eat or to buy something to drink. That being a less than 15-minute stop, in my opinion, really doesn't add any time to real world travel. So I think anything below 15 minutes is actually pretty darn good. And this car at 10 minutes, yeah, you only have time to connect to a charger, hop into the station, go to the toilet, grab something to eat, and then you're back in the car before you have enough charge to complete this trip. So I think that is actually pretty great and pretty impressive. And what's just going to get more impressive with this car and this platform is that once we move forward, this car is going to get software updates, so it's going to get more efficient. You can also option this with 20-inch wheels, which is going to be more efficient. And then this is also going to come with an upgrade. I don't know if it's next year or the year after, to be on an 800 volt architecture, and we're going to get charge speeds of like 350 to 400 kilowatts, and we won't be only bound to Tesla superchargers, because that is a big caveat with today's test, is to be able to get, you know, that short charge time you have to connect to a Tesla supercharger. If we went to a different charger, maybe it would have been like 12, 13 minutes, which is still very, very good. But to get that optimal charge speed, you have to go to a Tesla supercharger. But once this car is on an 800 volt architecture, that won't be necessary. So I'm pretty impressed by this car. It's super comfortable, super quiet. The sound system is amazing. The seats are amazing. Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, electric car at the moment, guys. So guys, let me know what you think of the results of the EX90 in the long trip test. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later. Goodbye.